Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. I hope your day is going really well. And I'm in On1 photo today, and I have a little photo that I took in Wales. It's a castle and it's got boats, and I don't know, I'm just kind of excited about the photo, to be honest. I just kind of like it. I was in On1 Photo Raw 2019, kind of messing around. Thought I'd share a workflow video here, and that was, I did a number of filters, some brush masking, and all that stuff. And if you aren't familiar with brush masking, I did a video, I'll put a link up there, recently that kind of outlines how you do it at a very basic level. It's very simple and yet powerful. It gives you great control over applying edits selectively to your photos. So let's just hop into it. Here's the photo that I'm talking about, and this is Carnarvon, I don't know, something in Wales. It's beautiful though, it's a beautiful castle. I did crop the photo. So I cropped it 16 by 9. As you can see, just go to this little happy crop tool up there, and when you're done, you just say apply. So it was just, it was blue afternoon sky, kind of boring, but I like what I turned the photo into, which is that. And I came a long way, and anyway, I really liked it. So I thought I would jump into that and go from there. So let me reset these filters, and we'll get going. Okay, here we are on the Develop tab, and the first thing I'll show you is lens correction did come into play here. There's the original, and there it is with lens correction. I like how it kind of scooted that castle wall on the right-hand side. It looks a little bit more collapsed or condensed, compressed maybe. That's the better word for it, and I think it looks a little bit better now. Luckily, if you look on the left-hand side, those two boats, they did not, when it bent the photo effectively, it didn't cut the nose off those boats. So thank you for that. I was pretty happy about that. I didn't use the details or the transform, and I'm just going to collapse the lens correction tab. So the first thing I did here is just really the basic stuff that I do in every photo. That's, I'm just playing with contrast. I took down the highlights. I bumped up the midtones and the shadows a little bit. If you look at the before photo and the current state, you can see, it's a minor change, but I think it helps, right? A little bit of temperature and tint work, and a little bit of vibrance. Pretty basic stuff. I generally start with just about every time the same stuff here. Temperature, tint, saturation, vibrance, that may vary. And often what I'll do is I'll go and do my edits on the effects tab. And then once I have them pretty situated, I might come back then and play a little bit with the color here. This is the overall temperature, tint, saturation, vibrance, not selective, right? When you're on the Develop tab, you're basically applying things globally, which is across the entire image. So anyway, that's just kind of some thinking about what I do. Let me get over here. I got a few filters. I started with dynamic contrast for two reasons. Number one, it's freaking awesome, and number two, it's freaking awesome. No, really, it's just the one reason, and that is it's a great filter. So dynamic contrast took me from there to there. I didn't apply it very heavily, but it's super powerful. I love the filter. I've been using it probably in every image. I didn't do a lot. In fact, I think it defaults to like 15 and 20 on medium and large, and I'm at 20 and 20. So again, subtle, but I think helpful. One more time. There's the before, and there's the after. It's just, it's dynamic and it's contrasty. And I like to bring up contrast, especially a photo like this. If you look at the original, it's pretty lacking in contrast. Where, this is mid to late afternoon. It's probably like 4 o'clock. Sunset's like at 9 o'clock in the summer. So I wasn't able to wait around, but of course I had to get photos. Anyway, so I got that, but flat light, boring sky, all that stuff. But I'm getting there. I was making it into something that I found a bit more interesting and maybe slightly artistic. Next up was HDR look. And as you can see here, I'll turn it off again. If you'll just look at the castle walls, I applied it there. So there's the before and there's the after. And I'll just click on the masking window and I'll click view. And you can see I just kind of painted it into the photo. And that's one of the reasons I did that brush masking video, because I used the brush masking a fair amount in this video. I used it for HDR look, and I used it for another filter here in a minute. I've got compression at 61 and details at 36. I actually think I might take that down a little bit. I edited this photo like, I don't know, maybe almost a week ago. Probably not a week ago. Anyway, a number of days ago. And often what I'll do is when I come back to a photo, I'll think that I was a little too heavy-handed on my edits. you may do the same thing. You know, I get in the moment and it's like the thrill of the chase or whatever, and I'm just like crushing it. I'm like, yeah, HDR look, hammer it. And then I'm like, okay, I come back and I like a little bit more sober, if you will, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Anyway, so there's the before and the after. I toned that down. I might give it back a tiny bit more, but regardless, the point is you have the ability in On1 in the effects tab here to just click on this little masking icon, and you can just grab your brush. You can see your brush is right there. You can also hit it over here, and you can hit the B key to get to the brush, and you can just start masking. And that gave me a little bit of pop there. Really, all I'm trying to do, for me, it's like the boats, they're a little bit at angles. I like kind of how they're, if you're thinking from the castle this way, they're kind of emanating out from the castle, or to me, they're all kind of pointing at the castle. So especially this bigger, closer boat in the foreground here, it just kind of leads your eye to the castle, and I wanted the castle to pop a little bit, so HDR look was the way to do that. Next up was color enhancer, and you can see I did some blue, right? So I clicked on sky, and then I just futzed around a little bit there with it. I don't know how to describe it other than, for me, color is a feel thing. It's just do what you think looks good, and there's no science to this. It's purely just kind of messing around with the sliders until you get what you want. But I knew for sure, if you go back, it was obviously very blue in the sky and the water, but it wasn't very saturated, and it was kind of lacking. So it was kind of a washed out blue. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And I wanted to give it some pop, so I used color enhancer for that. Next up was dynamic contrast again. So you remember I used it down here, and let me show you the before and after with that. It gave it a little bit of detail into the castle, a little bit of crunchiness, but I used it up here in reverse. So let me show you that. If you look at especially the water around the boats, that's off and now on. You can see it's softened up quite a bit. And that's the thing about dynamic contrast that makes it so powerful and flexible is, sure, you're used to dragging sliders to the right, and that's what we typically do, but you can drag some of them to the left. And in this case, I dragged small, medium, and large all to the left. But then I just, oof, man, let me tell you, that's the kind of mask I did. I was literally just painting it out of everything that had some structure, including all these little buoys that were in the water, which, may or may not have been visible in the final result, but I wanted them to be cleaner or clearer. And so I literally just spent all this time, which is why I'm not redoing this live, because you'd be just bored to tears watching me, erase stuff. But anyway, black conceals, white reveals. And so this negative dynamic contrast is revealed in the sky and the water. Sky really probably doesn't make that much of a difference because there's very little texture there to give it to blur. But the water, for sure, it made a huge difference. Whoops, let me close that. The water made a huge difference. So let me show you again the before. If you look at the water, a little ripply and all that. I wasn't going to do a long exposure, partly because the water was moving some. There were a little bit of boats going by, and also really, I just felt like if I tried to do a long exposure, even with my 10 stop, it was going to be fairly long, and all the boats were going to get blurry, and I didn't want the blurry boats. I've done that in other photos, not on this trip and that sort of thing, and it could be a cool look, but I wanted the boats to look crisp, and I wanted the water to be softer. So there it is with the negative dynamic contrast painted in. It also, I think, gives it a bit of a painterly look, which I really liked. It's sort of a counterbalance, if you will, to sort of the crispiness that's in the stone walls of the castle and then the softness of the water. It also makes it, because it's kind of blurred, I don't know, it makes the boats pop a little bit more. One more time, there's the before, especially like through here. I feel like that was a little too, crisp, I guess. And now it's soft. It's like a nice, gentle reflection, but the boats are crisp. It's kind of tilt shifty a little bit. Anyway, the cool thing is also once you mask it in, you can just adjust these sliders, and so you can keep moving these sliders around until you get what you want. Okay, enough about that. Sunshine was the next filter. I love this filter. It does some really cool things to your photos, I think. And in this case, if you look at the water, here's before and here's after. It really gave a nice punch of blue, a nice pop to the water there. amount 60, warmth of 8. I warmed it up a tiny bit. It is sunshine after all, but it really made the blue pop, which maybe it's supposed to. I don't know. Some of these filters I'm still kind of getting used to. I don't have them all super. I'm not super intuitive about all of them just yet. But I thought it worked well. And then the last thing was tone enhancer. And all I did is I took back a little bit of what I gave it on sunshine. So if you remember with sunshine, it created a little bit higher contrast image, also brightened the sky. Let me turn off tone enhancer. There's sunshine, right? So there's no sunshine there. And there it is with a sunshine filter, a little bit more contrasty and a little bit brighter in the sky, right? Before and after. In other words, it sort of unbalances the light a little bit. And with tone enhancer, I came back in and tried to rebalance the light. So let me show you the before, that's without tone enhancer, and the after with it. And so as you can see here, I took the highlights down fairly significantly, which is primarily impacting the sky, and also bumped up shadows. And yeah, that's it, I think. So that's really my workflow. That was all I did to the photo, and I was able to go from this unedited raw file to that finished product, which is a little bit of combination of like crispiness with the castle walls and softness with the water, a little bit of painterly kind of look in the water. Anyway, I'm enjoying the look of the photo. I hope that you found this workflow helpful, and maybe it gives you some ideas for your own images. And other than that, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying On1, or if you're considering it, feel free to ask me some questions. I'm not an expert in the product. I'm still using it and getting familiar, as I said a minute ago. But I love it. It's super powerful. It's a lot of fun. I'm getting some great results, and I'm really enjoying this one in particular. So thanks for watching. Have a great one. I'll see you soon. Take care, and adios.